Ooh. Okay. Well, this is going to be another demo game, and this is definitely a weird one. I've seen a partial play of this, and it was really intriguing. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, uh, this is something I have to show you.
Okay,
Welcome to Pepperoo Gaming. It's Dragoon,
and I'm Dirg. Thanks for watching with me.
and this is Growing My Grandpa.
Okay,
Okay, this is a mouse game. It is very reminiscent of like a point-and-click adventure game. Um, be a lot of clicking.
okay,
It's like right-click to change between the hand modes. Left is index finger is activating, and then right-clicking is to grab mode, and grab mode lets you grab garbage. Interacting with object position, pick it up, and trash can on the left. Okay. Many situations in growing my grandpa that will require you to pick things up, place things, grab things, or give things. Great to experiment and keep an open mind about using your hands. Click the button. Like the cleaning process, you can use the digits 1, 2, and on your keyboard's number row. Trash can below. Trash can to the right of the screen. Continue. Okay. Video options can be changed through. I already set this. Disable shader effects. I think low for the creepiness factor. Off is a little
okay.
too gritty, and high is a little too seizure-inducing. 5 to change cursor types. Hovering over the small question mark in the top right provides an overlay related to available configuration options by hovering over it.
Did it really
Yes,
make you go through a lot before getting into the game?
I did hit yes, give me this tutorial, so shame on me.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Uh, so this is a Yams game, or Yams, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but since
Yeah,
hearing about this game, I've seen that there are other games that they have done that look equally creepy, bizarre, and surreal. So, see some more of these.
okay. You gonna narrate it?
I am. We might have to switch off on some voices, but I'll do this
Okay.
one. I excused Adrian during music class today and spoke with her about her recent string of demerits. It was our first time meeting outside of our quarterly evaluations, and I believe it went well. I can certainly understand Mrs. Richardson's classroom's observations concerning Adrian's emotional state. She was, of course, intensely shy when we first met. As I understand it, she is similarly withdrawn in her classroom activities and only speaks or acts when she absolutely must. Some things she simply will not do. Instead of participating in mandatory group activities, she will sit alone and accept that she will receive a demerit. Before the meeting, I read Mrs. Richardson's parent teacher report, which allowed me to estimate some of Adrian's home life. Parents are well educated and come from a prestigious background, but they lack time to properly nurture Adrian. She is often alone, and when she's not, the parents seem to not understand the importance of warmth and affirmation when dealing with someone so young. Having two parents of this reserved and icy temperament exacts an inhibition in a child. The child's imagination is subdued, only ostensibly, but eventually finds its way into regular life. I surmised that I would be able to reach out to Adrian by way of make believe. How are you liking your new house? You told me you used to live close by, but it can still be a big adjustment. A new room, a new school. That's you.
I might take reader. Okay. The the basement. I like that.
Basement?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of cool stuff. Mom and Dad sent me down there.
Your mom and dad made you go?
Yeah, but there's lots of cool stuff. Well, that's not why they sent me down there, though.
Why did they send you down there?
Uh, Fighting. They were fighting, shouting. I came in to help, and they shouted at me. They said, "Go clean up downstairs." So I went.
That sounds tough. Do they fight a lot?
No, well, they,
It's all right, Adrian. Maybe you can tell me more about the basement instead?
okay. Well, it was weird at first, the stuff down there, but cool. I found something living, sort of.
That's very interesting, Adrian. Please tell me more. By indulging in her fantasies and her stories, I was able to glean more of an understanding of Adrian's anxiety surrounding her home and her parents. The symbols of Adrian's story seem to carry their own traumatic weight, and her exploration of the basement may very well be a vehicle for the conveyance of her anxiety. Whatever might come of our next meeting, whether she'll engage in similar make believe, I will set down her story here. Adrian's story begins with her delving into the basement with a trash receptacle and the goal of cleaning up. She discovered one of the walls was covered in plastic bags. She went to investigate, intent on tearing away whatever they covered. The frame rate that you're seeing, the transition between rooms, that is intentional.
Give it a little spooky vibe.
Yeah. It looks like navigate around the rooms when there's arrows, or click on objects to get closer to examine them. Down arrow will take you back. So, trash bag, and you have these,
Just you rip along the seam.
yeah, let's see if we can.
Oh, that's tape. Okay.
On removing the plastic trash bags from the wall, she noticed that the interior lining was covered in glass. Like a window, I offered. No, she said, like a mirror. Reflecting inward towards the animal they covered. Gently asked her what exactly this animal was. Here is where the material reality of the story took a turn for the explicitly fantastic and imaginary. Upon her discovery of it, at her gaze, it grew or extended. Its shaggy haired self, hair like the fur of a dog, I offered. No, she said. Not the fur of a dog, nor the hair of her head. It grew out towards her, the animal's hair, reaching out. It was hard, standing almost straight, like the hair on a brush. A bristle, I offered. Yes, she said. She was very afraid at first, but then very curious. I asked her what else was in the room. More things hidden away, she said. Things of Grandpa's as well. First, she found a hidden passage under the stairs. Inside were strange dolls, magic objects, naked, faceless figures. I heard these cryptic utterances and merely nodded. In order to keep the game of make-believe going, I only pressed for details where I thought necessary. Faceless dolls could be a simple metaphor for the anonymity she feels in her own home. The hidden passage, I'm unsure what to make of that. Revealing of the concealed seems to be thematic in her fantasy. The door under the stairs is but one example,
Weird creature.
right? Adrian doesn't know what it is either.
Grandpa's collection of naked dolls under the stairs.
Darkness of the shadowy corner unnerves you. You cannot explore here without some form of light. Trash pile over here, and some question marks. Where do you want to start?
Let's go to the trash pile.
Ah, okay. Rid of more tape here. Once she removed the panel and found the magical hidden passage, she was very specific about what she took. Found a magic book, a magic doll, and a photo of her late grandpa. Magic glue. Let's see, let's take the doll. Slouching doll. Its material is rough and coarse. Search the closet. Paper is crudely bound together to form. Back to that. I said I was going to close off.
Magic glue.
All-purpose glue.
Oh, maybe not the magic one.
we're bordering on the imagination of a child, so.
Right. Okay.
All clean. The space will not be dirty again until next week. Photo
Hi,
of your late
Grandpa.
Mr. PhD. On the reverse side of the photograph, there is more text. Good luck on your trip to the Urals. Stay warm. I interrupted to ask what she did with these magical, mysterious materials. For Grandpa, she explained plainly. Then, without missing a beat, she continued on with her story. Feeling this was a potent symbol, I stopped her again to ask what she meant. Somewhat puzzled, I did not understand immediately. She explained slowly. Grandpa lives in the cage in the other room. Cage behind the door. He grew people in the cage.
My. Trash again.
Just checking.
One of the right's got weird white dots shimmering on it.
Guy.
Probably just lighting. Yeah.
Shader thing. It's open now. Couple of letters here. Hastily written note. I have repeatedly called your homes to no avail, and so I am forced to leave this here for you all. I found William sitting in the corner of the enclosed area, seemingly severely concussed. Whiskers was gone, in none of its usual hiding places. I immediately suspected the worst. The project thus must be suspended for now. I am leaving up the usual mirrored coverings we used to keep the poetic void sealed. I have done my best to lock up everything at such short notice. It is a hasty fix, but will require some time to find him. I'm honestly hoping you do not find this note, as I intend to lock up the house too. I intend to race off to you to retrieve your lockbox keys. Don't worry about William's key. It and the rest of his equipment. It is almost certainly deep in Whiskers now. Pray you do not enter this room. No matter how it may appear, William cannot be helped, and it is only being kept alive as a means of continuing predation on the rest of us. I will say once again, no matter what state you may encounter William in, he cannot be helped. I have sympathy for the young man, I truly do, but I found on his person several photos of his late sister, which would imply certain risks he knew he was taking. Our extant research materials have now become possible liabilities, either criminal or professional in nature, so I have stashed them away. I believe I let all of you know how I might do this if we were ever to experience an event such as this. I hope you all remember what I told you. So long, then.
Dr. H was the grandpa, correct?
I don't know that that has been established yet, but I think
Oh,
so.
that was Dr. PhD on the photo, not Dr. H.
Right. Or Mr. PhD.
Mr. PhD, right?
A note on an experiment. 1. For the sake of university policy and the health of any future career you hope to have, you will abide by the non-disclosure contract you have signed. 2. Do not break the anthropoidic vacuum without my prior consultation and approval. 3. Any anthropoidic forms brought into the enclosure area must not be left unattended. When not in dormancy, the sample will attempt to take anthropoid shells. Please see shell notes for more on that. Piquing your interest yet?
Yeah. Anthropoid, is that a term we should know? Or is it a made-up one?
I believe it's a real term.
Okay.
I mean, you're welcome to on the side.
Yeah, I'll Google on the side. I've
Post
just
it in
made
Discord. I'm
myself
interested to
dumb.
know. I think it's like of human shape.
Yeah.
Just gonna have to look too. Yep,
Resembling a human being in form.
sure, but you know, I don't want to lie on the internet.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the second letter. A note on an experiment. The sample's exposure to some of our neural activity is unavoidable. However, the speed at which its desirous yield is produced can be dampened by several precautions regarding libidinal and emotional urges. Keep conversation not related to lab work. And you begin to suspect you are developing attachments to your colleagues. Contact me as soon as possible. Note on an experiment. Ritual behavior with the sample, trading, marketing, will result in dismissal from the project. The precise mechanism of the exchange of symbols and gifts required for a requested desirous yield is not known, and even then, anecdotal accounts of success are illegible. End in violent death. Oh. So it looks like see in the background, it's not part of the translated text. It says,
Fresh offering is especially.
yeah, is especially dangerous, and therefore all lab assistant lunches are to be vegetarian. The basement is a no meat zone. Interesting. Experiment. Regarding growth cycles, every time whiskers regenerates and leaves dormancy, it is to be logged as a new propagation. Sample's bodily existence cannot be legible, i.e., part cannot be cut from the whole, so there can only be one living propagation. Propagations are to be terminated after 5 weeks. Any further development puts us at risk. Termination procedures will be posted and followed with extreme care. With all that out of the way, I want to welcome you to the project. I look forward to working with you, Dr. Hart. Dr. H. I don't know if it's the grandpa yet, but I'd
There's
assume
his
so.
signature too. Going in.
Beyond the door, in the room, the cage was hidden, concealed in another cloak of inward-facing mirrors. A hidden cage lined with mirrors. It is strange, almost poetic, the elaborate fantasy of self-reflection, concealment. Some more tape. At the cage, she finally casts her spell. But it was confusing, she confided at first. She took the magic doll, the magic glue, and the photo of her grandpa. She combined them. She wished very hard. I can only assume in this fantasy that next her wish would come true. What child's story would it not? Sure. A particular human representation, generic human figure, this doll. Together?
Jeez.
There you go. A tangible symbol of intention and desire. I feel like this is getting into some like right hand magic.
Yeah.
She put Grandpa in the cage, assuming that it was part of the ritual. She was not clear on how it worked. What precise instructions she could glean from her grandfather's magic book was complicated by her reading comprehension. She wished with all her heart, and then she told me she waited a while for something, anything, to happen. And after that time, she began to cry. I cried really hard, she said. I wanted Grandpa to be back. I wanted my parents to stop being so mean. And it hurt me. It heard me wish for Grandpa to come back, my parents to be different. I could feel it through the walls, and it felt me through the air. I asked her exactly what she meant. She could only repeat what she said. By this time, lunch was almost over. I said goodbye to Adrian. She left to rejoin her class. I was left to consider our conversation. I believe the storytelling strategy I have employed was not unfruitful, but I must probe deeper. And though I can be sure of nothing I interpret, the impressions I get may begin to help me get an idea of the right questions to ask. What you acquire this week has given you access to certain topics or keywords you can discuss with Grandpa. Name the conversation topic, wish. Consider discussing this when Grandpa emerges. Also gain the following keyword. Shell. So, thoughts so far?
It's interesting. It's intriguing, the aspect of what is real and what could possibly just be child imagination.
Yeah,
Like, do you believe the kid? Take her at her word, or
I've
is
only uh, I've only seen a little bit past this, but what's what's interesting to me is what we're seeing, what we're doing. It's not totally in line with what she is, what the guidance counselor is reporting.
okay?
So I tend to feel like we're kind of seeing a one-to-one of what Adrian did. We adults, can glean more information from it than she can,
Gotcha.
and more than
Yeah.
she's able to relay. That's my guess.
Okay.
All right, press on a little bit more.
Yeah.
Met Adrian, or sorry, I met again with Adrian in order to address her emotional outbursts in the past few weeks. It is our second time meeting, and while it is standard practice to have multiple sessions with a troubled student, as I assemble a report for the counseling department, I could not help but think, as we sat down in my office, that Adrian already seemed to show a remarkable change in self-esteem and confidence. Perhaps mine and Mrs. Richardson's estimation of her as emotionally disturbed was erroneous. Paralyzing shyness and withdrawn attitude Adrian possessed last week was not entirely diminished, but she seemed to hold herself differently this week. However, this only lasted as long as our conversation pertained to initial introductory pleasures. When I began once again asking about her parents, her feelings regarding her new school and her new home, she quickly lost what new confidence she had gathered up and withdrew again into herself. So, once again, I partook in some collaborative make-believe. But this time I was aided by the fact that I had managed to do some research into Adrian's grandfather. I had some insight into what she might actually be finding in the basement. This may be overstepping my bounds, some as a school counseling caseworker, but this was all in the service of making Adrian comfortable and happy in this learning environment. In any case, I was able to dig up information regarding the grandfather by way of inquiring at the university in town. Not that I make a habit of sleuthing, but I had a suspicion that the grandfather was a professor there, or at least some sort of researcher, due to the fact that the newly constructed laboratory on campus I drive by every day bears his name and memorial. Some sort of anthropologist, or linguist, neuroscientist? I did not have to dig that deep before the scope of his work became dizzying, and I ran up against the limits of my undergraduate education. But back to the make believe. What is your grandpa like? Is he a smart man?
Not anymore, but I'm teaching him.
So he's grown a good deal then. You have been feeding him well?
Yeah, he's getting bigger, but he has a lot of room in his cage.
He's still behind the bars?
Yeah, well, he might be able to climb out eventually. There's this vent in the ceiling.
Well, perhaps if he climbs out, I could meet him someday.
Yeah, maybe, but he's not ready to leave. He can't take care of himself. I have to feed him, pick him up after, pick up after.
Ah, you store the food in your lunchbox. That's nice of you to share.
He can't almost talk.
You not speak with him?
He doesn't. He doesn't have a mouth, sort of.
But how do you feed him?
Yeah, he has a mouth on the outside, on his shell, or the stuff that is his skin.
A little confused. Maybe you can go through a typical day with your grandpa?
Okay.
I asked her to explain how exactly she goes about growing her grandpa. Adrian began another tale. According to Adrian, in the past, much had changed in the basement. Uh-oh.
It's moved.
The hairy thing that was here before is gone.
You've got your lunchbox too off to the right now. Seek out food for Grandpa. Oh yeah, the glue too.
See grandpa first.
Should we find food for him before that?
When I tried to go to another room,
Oh, gotcha.
wake grandpa.
Yeah, let's wake Grandpa.
It was scary at first, she said. The way he moved, the way the doll's skin covered him. I wanted to interject. This somehow seemed inappropriate, but I kept listening. When I look at him, she continued, when I think about it, grows and moves, it's like he's growing for me. So he's growing bigger now, I asked. Yes, she said. Okay.
Oh my.
This begins the actual growing part of growing your grandpa. Beneath the doll's burlap skin, the follicles knit together in what resembles a proper person, your grandpa. You are in charge of its cognitive development and diet until it's able to sustain itself. Currently, you are observing Grandpa. Please click the arrow back button below for a brief tutorial of your duties as caretaker. Here we can see a variety of options regarding growing your grandpa. Highlighted in red are objectives related to feeding and teaching Grandpa. Important messages regarding Grandpa's recent activity will also appear here. You will need to find it food and learning material before you can move on to the next week. Some foods will make Grandpa happy, others merely content. Some foods will make Grandpa disgusted to the point of nausea. Learning material is also scattered throughout the basement. Seek out vocabulary cards intended to help teach English and Bathic anthropoidic concept formation. The options highlighted in red are related to navigating around Grandpa's enclosure. Go to Grandpa option will let you perform all actions directly related to Grandpa, watching, observing, etc. Accessing the study corner will let you go over any documents you pick up. Why? It's a good idea to learn about the work that last occupied this space. Accessing the kitchen corner will let you search for food in the old refrigerator and prepare food for Grandpa.
Oh, it'd be good food.
Help button will replay this tutorial. Save game will let you save. Exit will leave. More buttons may or may not appear depending on your development of Grandpa, so watch out for them. One final note, take care to explore the basement at your leisure. However, due to the entropic nature of clutter and trash, different weeks may allow you to find things you had not previously discovered.
All right.
Alright, so feed Grandpa. Now we need to find 2 acceptable foods, and we need to teach him 2 words. Study corner real quick. This document we got. Here we go, the magic book. Get a chance to read this. Eurasian Steppe Shamanism. Fusiform Gyrus. Interdisciplinary Study in Sympathetic Magic. Dissertation by Jacob Hart. Dr. H.
Yeah.
Impetus of this research was the recognition of a particular pattern in fragments of documents relating to magic and magico-religious practices. Numerous sources were drawn from commentaries on laws relating to the banning of sorcery and necromancy, compilations of folk charms relating to love spells, hagiographs of saints and their encounters with devils. The list spans many centuries and a great distance. On to the Kaiser Khaganate, the border of the modern nation states of Russia and Kazakhstan today. From this paper trail arose a consistent account about certain form of magic related to the binding of demons to a sorcerer's will. A demon called the Heaven of Needles, or the Angel of Needles, was known to be kept best by shamanic keepers, wards who suffer from blindness. Was it that? Zopagnosia? That works. Whether by birth or through developmental causes like a stroke or head injury. It was known to be extremely effective, so much so that it became outlawed several times and was generally a popular scapegoat relating to unexpected death. The nexus of magico-religious meaning make. Good grief. The nexus of magico-religious meaning-making, sorcery regarding human-related desires, and the history and science of neurological disorders related to the fusiform gyrus is where the subject of this dissertation will reside. Like, could you be a more obnoxious doctor? I will outline further and then analyze the historical sources I mentioned previously. Then I will go into the neurology of the mystique and magico-religious experiences. After that, I will detail my ongoing correspondence with a resident of the Ural Mountain region, who is an expert folklorist and keeper of traditions. He claims to have been passed down through his extended family for generations.
That's where he was headed in the photo.
Yep. That's it. Oh, we got some file cabinets.
Yep. Gotta find those cards.
Set of procedures regarding disposal or internment. Examine this detail later in the study corner. Read it now. 1. The researcher will seal off the enclosure bars, ensuring minimal gas leakage during the later fumigating process, and then retrieve the burn barrel and place it near the enclosure. Allow at least 48 hours of time where the current cycle experiences no human-related stimuli. Not enter the enclosure area, nor any part of the basement. Ideally, you will not be on the grounds at all. After 48 hours, two researchers will enter the basement wearing their assigned mirror mask, powered air purifying respirator. The researcher will use the vent system to fumigate the enclosure area. Wait 30 minutes, and then use the fan system to ventilate the enclosure. Keep the fans running during steps 3. Re-enter the enclosure area wearing your assigned mirror mask and aprons. Organism may or may not be in dormancy. If it is not in full dormancy, be assured that its capacity to act against you will be greatly diminished. With your assigned powered drills, quickly remove any enclosure bars needed to access the organism. Put them aside for later installation. Put the organism into the burn barrel. Incinerate the organism thoroughly. Wait for any smoke to be properly cleared from the system. Turn off the fans. One researcher will retrieve the nucleus form from the ash and place it into the mirror box. The other researcher will sift through the ash and place any other substantial remains into the biohazard bin outside the enclosure area. The bin is locked for safety purposes. The code is 32245. Researchers will fill out a termination form. Part.
We should memorize that code.
Oh, good. We've gained the conversation topic biohazard bin.
Grandpa, let's talk about where you're going to end up.
Listen, buddy, end of this month, gonna be a bad time. Gonna be a little hot under the collar. Well, if your shirts. A lot of trash in here.
Food. Cashews. All grandpas love cashews. It's like Werther's.
Right? I was wondering if we're gonna find, like, odds are we're gonna find a bag of Werther's Originals. It's like guaranteed. An account of an acquisition. Said to pass from one family of steppe people, but pressed on its ultimate origin, illegible, somewhere to the south, coiled in a bowl covered in incantations, buried upside down by a graveyard. Common late into gap. Keeper, an elderly man in failing health, was ready to expound on and about the dangers of the organism, but when I asked more pointed questions about the history of its acquisition, was given curt responses that had a way of circling back to vague things.
Doing a good job cleaning the basement.
Thanks. Getting a lot of practice. Vocabulary card. Teach Grandpa this word.
Secret file under the drawer.
Say that one more time.
Is that tape along the edges? Is
Mhm.
that the apartment?
Looks like it. Find out. Aye. Move the taped down fabric to reveal the cabinet's wooden bottom. Note regarding cleanup procedures. To my colleagues, I don't mean to be overly severe in tone, but Dr. Hart's work is very important. The material we are working with is potentially very dangerous. I will be handing out a copy of this note as a reminder to everyone, not trying to single any particular person out. We all have misconceptions about the nature of this project from time. With that out of the way, here are some things to keep. The active growth must be thoroughly terminated via the correct procedures at the very least 4 weeks after dormancy is interrupted. It doesn't matter what you've done or haven't done regarding the tests or procedures or how much the anthropoidic vacuum has been disrupted. You're not ready to go beyond 4 weeks at this point. Step-by-step guide to termination has been posted in the enclosure wall. Please do not place the educational posters over this posting. Do not disrupt the anthropoidic vacuum without Dr. Hart's prior consultation and approval. In case of any emergency where the vacuum is disrupted, put on your equipment and begin the lockdown procedure. Take an extensive note on when and how the breach occurred. Habitat empty. Engage Dr. Hart immediately, but do not attempt to speak with anyone else. This thing can get very smart, and I'm sure you're all well aware from the stories we heard on our acquisition trip. Greatest caution should be used when dealing with a potential aggressive mimicry scenario. Please seek me out when you have any more questions. What is this thing? Information regarding sample exoskeletons. Research participants, please take note. Each growth from a cycle does not require a shell, but you may find the sample will often try and seize on something somewhat flexible it can grow into, along with any desirous yield it may generate. Or else it will move from one shell to the next as it outgrows them. The small amount of time I've spent with it in preparation, I've noticed it tends towards human forms. However, we should keep a tight lid on the anthropoid seal in order to be cautious before we begin to experiment, exposing it long stimuli. No x-rays yet.
What's that on top of the tall file cabinet?
Let's see. Doesn't look interactable.
Contrast looked high enough that it may have been something.
Right. Kitchen corner. Search the upper fridge.
That looks yummy.
Sure, some lettuce. Brown banana.
Opened and left.
Let's see. Something appears to be growing from the wall. Take a closer look. A pulsating sac, slimy membrane, it is its skin, seems to contain something. It might be able to be opened with a blade. Oh yeah, they weren't kidding. Oh, loaded battery. This really isn't food. Grandpa might eat it, however. Oh, another vocabulary card.
Did the other one have lines under the letters?
Yes. Okay. Slouching under the weight of
Are there eyeballs or mushrooms? Okay.
Nope, blueberries. I mean, I'm glad, I guess.
You'd grab the mushrooms you grow in your basement.
It certainly wouldn't feed them to anyone. Oh, this looks like a normal drawer. Of an acquisition. Before we began, he had us all cover our faces completely. The earthenware pot was illegible. On the inside, as we stole brief glances at it, we could see the interior was inlaid with mirrors. The legible gave it small pieces of dough, spoiled chicken feed.
Okay.
He gestured towards the small bag where the composted, told us to be careful not to feed it. I asked if the rotting food was enough to sustain it, how it might get nutrients from any of this. Keeper regarded me seriously and said it did not matter what it was fed. Act of feeding was what mattered. The act of feeding flesh is another act, however. Then gave me another series of grave warnings regarding not keeping any animal-derived foods near.
Right. So maybe it would eat the battery.
Ooh.
Find a key.
Something about the paint. Strange. Folder full of radiographic images.
Hey, cool.
Yes, more trash.
A pile of vomit? Find out.
Again, I hope not. Oh, fiberglass insulation. Sure.
Might eat it.
The waste here smells particularly strong. Simple paper doll. This might be useful in the construction of magical symbols. Can't go back under the staircase.
Not this week.
Okay, well, before we feed or teach, a couple more study materials. Let's see.
The X-rays. Radiographs is the word.
Slip the radiographic images you found onto the machine's display. Propagation 21, day 19 after dormancy. I'm assuming that's the anthropoid vacuum. Broken? Yes. Termination at 21 days. Intriguing results with regard to the mimic hypothesis. Participant entered a sealed chamber adjacent to Whiskers, cycle 21, which had been freed from the vacuum, constructed quite economically from plastic and broken parts. First propagation's original vacuum was shattered during. Between the two, there was a semi-opaque glass panel that allowed observation both ways. The human participant was asked to think of someone in the popular conscious, fictional or no, and conjugate on the image. Personality, face if possible, voice if possible, etc. Our participant chose Jesus of Nazareth because, of course, why not? And with weekly repeated exposures to the participants' imaginings, Propagation 21 began forming what resembled an anthropoid Nazarene in the folds of its spine. Previous human-oriented tests have always bore out a result that Whiskers would form an anthropoid team member. Dr. Hart or Gerald assumed it was merely mimicking one of us. Dr. Hart had always contended that the desirous yield, or the anthropoid reproduction Whiskers creates when in contact with human beings, has always been based on the perception and relation to the person through someone else. With this framework, the desirous yield is not actually a replica of a person, or if it is only a replica of the fiction of a person generated in the mind of another. This desirous yield was not Jesus Christ, but the participant's image of Jesus, assembled from the religious upbringing, his artwork, fictions in popular culture, etc. Radiograph was taken right before the destruction of the growth cycle, while Whiskers was rendered unconscious via fumigation. It seems like with every successive propagation, the stem cells in the organism work a little faster, not paranoid. It's technically deathless, yes, but we're burning up whatever knowledge it gained when we incinerate it. Don't believe in magic just yet. Propagation number 2, day 0. Termination at 6 days. We have taken to calling it Whiskers, though of course some have interpreted it as hair or needles, quills. Whiskers is more accurate, as the needles are really more like suprasensory follicles, spines. The nerve nets distributed through the morphology of these spines resemble those of the genus Hydra, but have myelin sheaths that are functionally the same as vertebrae. As we can see in the X-ray, each spine is laden with its optical arrangement similar to compound ox. The Hydra connection is assuredly worth investigating, in regard to the organism's capacity for regeneration and anecdotal deathlessness. It is certainly a robust enough creature to inspire marvel. It's not untinged with fear. Number 14. 14 days after dormancy, termination at 16 days. Exposure to mammalian forms, part of a series of zoomorphic influences, led to further understanding of the propagation's ability to simulate somatic stem cells that constitute fully. I write simulate in the previous statement because examining the tissue of each propagation leads me to believe it's an amazing capacity for accelerated growth, vastly different forms, comes from its cell-level mutability. Yet at no time does it function as the thing it is, except in the sense that it mimics it. That is to say, when Whiskers is removed from dormancy and replicates the rabbit's morphology, it is not seeing rabbit's eyes, nor smelling from the rabbit's nose, but pretending that it does, and doing a very good job of it.
So it creates like fake eyes and fake noses. Does the actions of the rabbit through it.
Right. But it sees and senses through like its whole shell or something.
Nose.
Issue number 5, day 10. Anthropoidic vacuum broken? No, in this case. Termination at 12 days. This radiograph is taken at or around growth cycle 4. The strange thing about it is that it was the subject of the image was found nowhere near the enclosure. It's almost like a piece of Whiskers fell off and scurried into. I feel like we've learned a lot since then, but at the time I remember speaking about the morphology, not really even resembling any extant zoomorphic structure, besides maybe a cuttlefish. Then I happened to open the thing. Inside were all these little dead amoebas, but sort of looked like they had faces that were just barely. After I took up the radiograph, I gathered it up and to go through it in the biohazard bin.
Oh.
I was expecting throw. caught me up.
Yeah.
As I walked by the bars of the enclosure, I could hear Whiskers suddenly going wild, flopping around and grunting excitedly. Would it have smelled the cuttlefish thing? Would it eat its own production? Guess it's technically fish. This is beyond the scope of the project, but it could be that without the stimulus of an active brain, specifically healthy and active brain capable of face recognition and theory of mind, Whiskers began where it can data it had available to it. Again, this is not our focus at this time, but I left a note for Dr. Hart just in case he wanted it.
This thing's pretty cool.
All right. Well, we need to feed Grandpa.
Yep.
Jim. Let's see, what do we have in the kitchen? Oh, well, a soft fruit or vegetable, and then an unappealing item. So,
One of
banana,
each. Looks like you're getting banana fiberglass, Grandpa.
seal. Okay.
Put a battery inside of it.
Insulation is concealed in the browning. This one.
What about the blueberries?
Don't need prepared, I guess.
Hmm.
Let's see what happens.
Lettuce, too.
Serve. To examine Grandpa, noting its movements, respiration, and general mood. Grandpa seems sort of sluggish and bored. Get the feeling it may be more content and readily cooperative once fed and taught a word or two. Let's feed it. Would you like to view the tutorial? Sure. Brief tutorial will go over the basics of feeding Grandpa. Via induction of your unprotected insula, Grandpa has simulated the production of tooth enamel to mimic a human mouth. It will need to be fed through this in order to properly learn to grow. Still need to select an item from the lunchbox. Click the lunchbox in the bottom right corner. Contents of the lunchbox will be displayed. Select an item from the lunchbox. Doing so will fill your hand with the item. Note that any food can be put back into the lunchbox by clicking on the lunchbox. Where Grandpa can be fed, it must judge the food by smell. Hover your hand above Grandpa's olfactory bulbs. If Grandpa's pleased, it will allow you to feed it. Most foods Grandpa will accept. However, getting Grandpa to consume other things requires some culinary deception. Grandpa's willing to be fed. Hover your hand over its mouth and click. Consume the food. Done feeding Grandpa. Okay. You approach the small window set into the bars. Wow.
What part is the olfactory bulb?
Left of its mouth. So here-ish.
Okay. Cashews, too. I forgot about that.
Let's start with this one. Okay. So
Oh, that's right. The doll was burlap.
quickly consumed, the meal seems to be causing some indigestion. With a sudden lurch, Grandpa empties its stomach out onto the floor. Contents pool together in front of the couch.
Guess you didn't like it.
Oh,
An unhidden battery?
rooted. All right. Well, we did make it eat insulation. I guess I can't blame it for getting sick. What do you want to feed it next?
Uh, all grandpas love cashews. Cashews is a safe bet, hopefully. He's enticed by the smell of the incense. Oh, he's indifferent to it.
Okay. And we need to feed it too. So, what do you want to give it for the second thing? Assuming that the fact that it threw it up, it didn't count.
Let's go blueberries.
Okay. Grandpa finds it palatable. Okay, it's 2 meals. Step away from the window set into the bar. Grandpa silently slides back to its corner. Okay. Give it to training items. Grandpa recently emptied its stomach.
Explore the floor, it said.
Yeah, here we go. Examine stomach contents.
Ah,
Oh,
key for the safe.
why did it have a key in it?
As we were thinking about Grandpa.
Oh, good. I don't have to clean this up. Still the same. Um,
Yeah, let's teach Grandpa.
which word?
Let's teach it hello. Seems like a good place to start.
All right, this brief tutorial will go over teaching Grandpa pronunciation and vocalization. The vocabulary word you picked will appear in the top left corner. Bottom right corner will be a pentagon that is divided up into 8 sections. A section of the pentagon will be highlighted briefly. Notification sound will play, and soon another section will be highlighted. You will control a small round icon that sits above the balls. Balls constrained to the limits of the pentagon. Balls to keep your eye to the highlighted area and move it as the area changes sections around the pentagon. Okay, so keep the ball lit area.
Right.
Hold left click above the correct area, the icon will start to vibrate. Simulated vocal cords and the current letter of your word will begin to turn red. Over the highlighted section and adjust your icon as it changes place. Soon the letter will become fully red. After every letter becomes red, Grandpa will pronounce the word. Considered learned. Teaching Grandpa these words will accelerate its cognitive development and breakthroughs in general intelligence. Approach the small window set into the box. Okay. So that bell noise, is it moving?
Is it moving?
Is it not coming through?
Oh, I get the bell noise.
There's the red section.
Yep. Oh, and I see the vocal cord behind.
Deep within Grandpa, strange membranes. Oh my god.
You.
I did not mean to talk over it. It was the creepiest hello. Okay. Shift the speech or something. Having completed the lesson, you take a look at the back of the vocabulary module card and the notes there written by administrators of the past. Hello, part of the Clarion Vocalization Model A2, Conversational Basics, General Pronunciation Comment, Sloppy Articulation. Module comments see below. We are already encountering some difficulty. Whisker's subjectivity is so much determined by a diverse and dynamic array of influences. Its attempt to mimic the thoughts and desires it passively intercepts, and these imitations go on to structure the basis of its identity. Only later in Whisker's growth cycle does it begin to form an identity or identities that are coherent and capable of resembling a sane, rational human being in conversation. One must imagine how hard it would be to converse with someone who is not yet oriented one way to who or how they are, because they might have 20 different honest answers to those questions, all of them mixed and muddled together. How long is this card? As of this, we have
Looks
started
like
with
many of them.
yeah, it's one card with a 17-part answer on the back. Because of this, we have started with the basics of conversation, greetings, identifying one another, forming questions, etc., etc. It is fortunate Whisker's current growth, 19, has developed a mostly accurate human mouth simulation. Hello was a bit of a challenge in the previous growth, as it had failed to develop an adequate organ to act as a human.
It's kind of like back in school, those days where you had tests with your notes. So you could bring in one note card.
Right.
And it didn't matter how much you wrote on it. So you'd stuff as much crap on there as you can.
Oh god, do you see it like sitting in that chair?
Yeah. Not it, Grandpa.
Right, right. Grandpa would carry everything you have.
At that time.
Grandpa, part of Vocabulary and Vocalization Model E81 family. General pronunciation comments. Usual trouble with articulation, voice thin, raspy, possibly underdeveloped larynx. Done several sessions of what we are calling familiar relation simulation. I and a co-researcher sit in a chair opposite the enclosure. We are wearing the usual masks. We begin to act out a scene, mostly through improvisation, that might roughly resemble a kitchen table conversation between. Repeated trials would reveal although our simulated conversation was purposely vague and unspecific regarding persons and identities, would only address each other as brother, father, sister, etc. It soon became apparent that the encoded information and associations we unconsciously draw upon when hearing and speaking these words was picked up on by Whiskers, and its psi-type field of reception interpretation of brain-mind events' semantic content. My co-researcher William noticed this in a simulation where Whiskers was given the role as a sister. He as a brother, I was the father. Whiskers began responding to certain prompts with unusual specificity, as well as a general pattern and speech that continued with unusual consistency. As soon as the simulation ended, I left the enclosure. William let me know that Whiskers was almost certainly coded memories of his late sister, mapping out exactly what regions and centers of neural activity are intercepted by the psi-type field. Extensive neuroimaging not have at this site. Currently, we only have less precise portable. However, our experiences so far are eerily in line with folk knowledge of folk explanations regarding the being's access to desires, and to infer that it has access to certain portions of the limbic system, ventral temporal. So it's your mind. seems like a bad thing to have. Well, we got this key.
Check out that safe.
So try the safe's lock with the key. It's open. Photo of your mother as a young woman. Recognition of this face kicks off a cascade of emotion and meaning psyche.
Is Grandpa gonna look like Mom?
Get a paper doll.
Yeah, we did.
So it sounds like you just need to have like the shape or the idea of a person, like a concept.
Paper doll plus the glue. Mom's photo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tangible symbol of intention and desire.
Boy.
Talk to Grandpa.
Offer Mother's doll.
Do we?
Let's attempt to communicate first.
Okay. Did feed it. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
It's content and ready to cooperate. Cedes to your request. It approaches the bars and begins to unknit its skin.
What? Oh my.
The inner Grandpa, though still not fully formed, is revealed. It may be fruitful to speak with it if it can respond.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, so here's those other words we learned.
Yeah.
Ask about wish. Great deal of effort, Grandpa gurgles fragmented thoughts through its ill-formed lips. I'll let you read these too.
Father, I will father new lives out of the air.
Dark, spiny filaments that make up the majority of Grandpa's body begin to oscillate rapidly. Air behind your eyes. I can taste it. Your line. Sorry.
That's okay. Oh, you want me to say? Okay. The air behind your eyes, I can taste it.
What an unnerving thing to say, Grandpa.
I mean, I've heard about the air between your ears. Skin, my body. All human skin around me. Give more. Grow more to fit.
Cool. Yeah, the biohazard bin. I'm sure it's going to have lots of happy things. Hey. Frustrated sputtering noise.
Goodbye.
Silently sends back into its shell.
Burlap sack. Let's observe again after communicating. Okay.
Hey. Oh,
Let's offer Mommy.
instead of the
Do we glue mommy to the cell wall?
No,
No.
thank goodness. Okay, well, save here.
It's a pretty cool game.
Right? I, I, I don't even know
It's,
where this is going. It is just so surreal. I'm just so intrigued.
it's just creepy enough to keep my interest and not make me think that I'm going to have scary dreams tonight.
That's, I don't know about the scary dreams part, but the being just creepy enough interested was exactly what I thought you
I want to know more. I want to keep going. But we're like, what, 2 hours in already?
would.
Oh,
Hour
an hour
16.
16.
Let's why don't we pause here? Uh no, what do you guys think? Do you
I'm
want to see
doing
more
it.
of this? I might just do it just to do it. Interested.
Yeah, I might have to pick this up.
Well, let's end the week and see where we go. Summary. Food acquired. Banana. Battery. Berries. Hyperglass insulation and concealed insulation. Documents acquired. The whole library. Paper doll 1. It's like there'll be more.
Yep.
I like that we acquired Grandpa.
And mom.
You acquired this week has given you access to new conversation topics to discuss with Grandpa. Language. Leave it here. Start reading it.
Yeah, it's a good place.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.